Historians debate the origins of El Salvador's first inhabitants. Some suggest they were Mayan, others say Aztec. What is clear, however, is that one of the earliest known civilizations in the region were the Olmecs, who arrived around 2000 BC. Archaeological sites in western El Salvador reveal Olmec-stepped pyramid temples, ball courts which are clear signs of a thriving Olmec presence. But that's just the beginning of El Salvador's deep and complex story. So, in this video, we'll continue to explore the country's past, geography, politics, economy, and culture. Following the Olmecs, the Maya settled in the region around 1500 BC. They built an advanced agrarian society rooted in nature-based religion, worshipping gods that represented natural forces, most notably the maize god, a symbol of life and sustenance. The Maya were skilled mathematicians and astronomers, developing a remarkably accurate calendar and engaging in extensive trade across Mesoamerica and beyond. Around 900 AD, the Maya civilization began to decline, and that's when the Toltec Empire moved into the area, leaving its own cultural imprint. In the 11th century, the Pipil people migrated from Mexico and became the dominant group in what is now El Salvador. They called their homeland Cuscatlan, meaning land of jewels, and their culture blended Mayan and Aztec influences. The people cultivated a variety of crops, mainly beans, pumpkins, chiles, avocados, cocoa, indigo, and corn, and worked the land communally. They were also skilled artisans, producing pottery, textiles, carvings, and metalwork in gold and silver. Their society was structured into small kingdoms called Cachicazgos, with names like Izarco, Apanecatl, Apastepel, Ixtepetl, and Guacotecti. Laws were strict and designed to preserve agriculture, religion, social order, and family values. That said, offences like theft, infidelity, or disrespecting the gods could be punishable by death. Because of their influences, the people used both Mayan and Aztec calendars, which included the concept of zero, a mathematical idea unknown to ancient Greeks or Romans. This knowledge guided farming cycles and religious rituals. By 1528, the Spanish conquest had begun. The people resisted fiercely, and it took the Spanish roughly 15 years to gain full control. And in 1821, El Salvador gained independence from Spain, but soon joined the short-lived United Provinces of Central America, alongside Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. By 1841, it became fully sovereign. During this period, the economy focused on growth, especially coffee, which became central in the mid-1800s under President Gerardo Barrios. But while coffee boosted prosperity, wealth stayed concentrated, which in turn worsened inequality. That inequality erupted in 1932 during La Matanza, when the government brutally suppressed a rural uprising led by activist Farabundo Martí. This ended up killing an estimated 30,000 people. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there because the late 20th century continued to be marked by political instability. A military coup in 1961 put the right-wing National Conciliation Party, or PCN, in power. Then in 1969, border tensions with Honduras, which was intensified by a World Cup qualifying match, sparked the brief but deadly football war. Around 4,000 people died, and over 130,000 Salvadorans were expelled from Honduras. In 1980, the Salvadoran Civil War broke out. This was a 12-year conflict between the military-backed government and the leftist Farabundo Martí National Liberation Front, or FMLN. As a result, about 75,000 people were killed, and many more fled the country, particularly to the US. The much-needed turning point came with the assassination of Archbishop Oscar Romero, a prominent human rights advocate. Seen as a martyr for the faith, his death sparked international outrage and highlighted the urgent need for peace and justice in El Salvador. As such, the war ended in 1992 with the signing of the Chapultepec Peace Accords, which led to military reforms and ushered in a new political chapter. So, in the years that followed, El Salvador strengthened regional and international ties. It joined a free trade agreement with the US, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala in 2003, and by 2006 officially resolved its border dispute with Honduras, marking a step toward greater stability. Besides its complex history, El Salvador also boasts fascinating geography. Did you know El Salvador is the smallest and most densely populated of the 7 Central American countries? Despite having very little flat land, it has traditionally been an agricultural country, relying heavily on coffee exports. But before diving into that, let's explore the country's diverse landscape. El Salvador is bordered by Honduras to the north and east, the Pacific Ocean to the south, and Guatemala to the northwest. It sits entirely on the western side of the Central American Isthmus, making it the only Central American country without a Caribbean coastline. And the whole country lies along the Central American volcanic axis, shaping its major geographic regions. For such a small nation, just about 21,041 square kilometers, or 8,124 square miles, El Salvador's landscape is remarkably varied. In the north, the Sierra Madre mountain range runs along the Honduran border, with elevations ranging from roughly 1,600 to 2,200 meters, or 5,200 to 7,200 feet. Once covered in dense forests, this area now faces erosion and a sparse population due to overuse. To the south, the southern mountain range includes more than 20 volcanoes grouped into 5 clusters. The westernmost cluster features Izalco and Santa Ana, the country's highest volcano at 2,380 meters, or 7,812 feet. Between these volcanic peaks, you'll find fertile slopes, rolling hills, and ash-filled basins, which are all ideal for coffee farming. The Central Plateau, about 48 kilometers or 30 miles wide, covers roughly a quarter of El Salvador's land, but contains most of its population and major cities. Sitting at an elevation of about 600 meters or about 2,000 feet, the plateau features hilly terrain with lava fields, escarpments, and even geysers. Along the Pacific coast stretches a narrow lowland plain, varying from 1.5 to 32 kilometers or 1 to 20 miles wide. This plain widens near the Gulf of Fonseca in the east, while volcanic slopes drop sharply into the ocean at La Libertad. Apart from its land, El Salvador is rich in water features too, featuring over 300 rivers. The Rio Lempa is the most important. It originated in Guatemala and flowed through all 3 major geographic regions before emptying into the Pacific Ocean. What's more, it is the country's only navigable river and drains about half the land. Other rivers tend to be shorter, flowing from the Central Plateau to the coast. Volcanic activity has also created several lakes surrounded by steep scenic highlands. The largest is Lake Ilopango, located just east of the capital city. But besides that, other notable lakes include Coatepeque to the west and Guija on the Guatemalan border. In terms of ecosystems, El Salvador is home to diverse environments. The northern mountains host pine and oak forests, while tropical species such as mangroves, rubber trees, and mahogany thrive in lower regions. Notably, Monte Cristo National Park, which borders Guatemala and Honduras, is a cloud forest rich with ferns, orchids, and shaded forest floors. On the southwest coast, El Imposible National Park, one of the last coastal rainforests, boasts 400 tree species, 300 bird species, and hundreds of butterfly varieties. Wildlife includes endangered jaguars, jungle foxes, spider monkeys, and opossums, alongside coyotes, tapirs, armadillos, parrots, and many migratory birds. The country's waters teem with fish, turtles, iguanas, crocodiles, and alligators. Since El Salvador lies in the tropics, temperature variations depend more on altitude than season. According to Blue Green Atlas, the average temperature in the Central Highlands remains steady around 24 degrees Celsius, or 75 degrees Fahrenheit, year-round. But along the coast and at lower elevations, temperatures tend to be hotter. So because of El Salvador's geography and landscape, it had a thriving agricultural sector, but things changed quickly in the mid-20th century. Industrial growth surged during the 1960s and 70s, yet agriculture remained the dominant force, especially commercial crops like coffee and sugarcane. The challenge, however, was a highly unequal land distribution system that left many small farmers without enough land to grow food for themselves. Then, in the 1980s, a brutal civil war brought progress to a halt. The US provided military and economic aid to support the ruling junta, a system of government led by military leaders, against leftist guerrilla forces. After a decade marked by violence and economic collapse, peace finally arrived in 1992, marking a major turning point for the country's economy. By the mid-1990s, El Salvador expanded its service sector, boosted agricultural exports, and in 2004 signed a free trade agreement with the US. Despite signs of recovery, the country faced ongoing challenges: natural disasters, rising global oil prices, and a shrinking manufacturing sector, especially in the maquiladoras, factories that import raw materials, assemble products and export them. As a result, El Salvador once again leaned on agriculture to keep its economy moving. Today, coffee, cotton, corn, rice, and sugarcane remain key exports, while non-traditional crops like jalapenos and pineapples are gaining ground. And as you can imagine, trade continues to be vital. The US is El Salvador's largest trading partner, followed by nearby Central American countries, Mexico and China. Beyond trade and exports, however, the service sector, primarily tourism, plays a major role in the economy, accounting for about 60% of GDP, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. In fact, tourism has steadily grown since the 1990s, driven by popular historical attractions like Joya de Serene and a wealth of pre-Columbian ruins scattered across the country. However, beneath these positive trends lie serious socio-economic challenges. In 2023, nearly half the population lived in poverty. Economic growth, averaging just 2% annually, has not kept pace with the country's needs. Unemployment and underemployment remain high, and income inequality is severe, with the richest 10% earning nearly 50 times more than the poorest 10%. To address these issues, the government implemented strict financial measures aimed at stabilising the economy by 2025. They passed a tight budget, settled overdue payments, and eased debt pressure through 3 recent bond buybacks. These efforts paid off. Between mid-2022 and early 2025, the gap between El Salvador's bond interest rates and global benchmarks dropped by over 3,100 basis points, a clear sign of rising investor confidence. Looking ahead, boosting productivity, attracting foreign investment, and creating better jobs will require deep, long-term reforms. This means investing in people through improved education, healthcare, and job training, alongside upgrading infrastructure and preparing for climate change impacts. Crucially, these new jobs must be accessible to all Salvadorans, especially those in low-income communities, if they are to truly reduce poverty. But when it comes to the culture, El Salvador remains vibrant and deeply rooted in tradition. And you'll see why. The country is home to more than 6 million people, and about 86% identify as mestizo, meaning they have both indigenous and Spanish ancestry. That heritage helps explain why Spanish is the official language spoken throughout the country. Religion also plays a significant role in Salvadoran identity. Roughly half the population is Roman Catholic, while about 36% follow various Protestant denominations, and 12% don't practice any religion. When it comes to food, corn is a staple in many traditional dishes. One of the most iconic is the pupusa, a thick stuffed tortilla filled with cheese, beans or meat. You'll find them everywhere, from roadside stands to sit-down restaurants. Other favourites include fried yuca, or cassava served with pickled cabbage, refried beans, and pollo encebolado, a savoury chicken and onion dish. Along the coast, seafood is a big part of daily life. People enjoy clams, shrimp, octopus, and squid in all kinds of preparations, whether they be grilled, fried, or mixed into soups and ceviches. As for drinks, teenagers often go for sugary, soft drinks called cocas, while adults typically favour coffee, especially since El Salvador is known for its high-quality beans. Besides those, locally loved beverages include cola champan, which is a sugarcane-flavoured soda, fruit juices like tamarindo, pineapple-based ensalada, and coconut water. Beer is also widely consumed, and tic-tac, a sugarcane-based liquor, is considered the national drink. Just like its cuisine, El Salvador's arts and literature scene is rich and expressive. Folk art thrives in the form of bright, colourful depictions of village life, animals, and festivals. Murals and street art are also common in urban areas, adding a splash of culture to public spaces. Despite the rise of modern art forms, traditional crafts remain widely celebrated. These include Ilobasco pottery, San Sebastian textiles, and woven pieces from Concepcion de Ataco. all of which are treasured for their beauty and cultural importance. In music and performance, traditional styles like marimba still resonate, while younger generations lean into genres like rock, hip-hop and cumbia. Together, these sounds reflect El Salvador's dynamic culture, rooted in tradition, yet constantly evolving with the times. From its deep-rooted cultural heritage to its evolving economy and society, the nation continues to balance its past with the challenges and opportunities of the future. As reforms take shape and Salvadorans at home and abroad contribute to the country's progress, El Salvador stands at a pivotal moment, carving out its path with determination and hope. So, if you enjoyed this video, you're going to love this next one.